Hey everyone, it's E and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be next up in our Disney Channel original movie review series, and the theme of this week's video, well, it doesn't really have a theme. These are some of the most random Disney Channel original movies ever. Some of these movies are the kind of movies that make you think, whose idea was this? Who asked for this? And others are pretty good. But anyway, let's just jump into it. The first Disney Channel original movie we'll cover this week is maybe one of the most random of all, and it's the one I decided to do the fan art for this week because, I don't know, I just felt like it. It's called Buffalo Dreams. It's about this kid who moves with his family to this small town out west. There seems to be a Navajo, Native American Indian reserve, and there's a buffalo preservation organization there that these kids work with. And the kid who moves out there sort of joins them in working with the Buffalo Preserve, but also at the same time he wants to be accepted by these dirthead bike kids. BMX, I guess. Mountain biking. Whatever. I don't know. I'm not an extreme sports fan. He wants to ride dirt bikes. The movie is about him learning about nature and preserving nature and all that kind of stuff. There's some decent recognizable actors in this movie, which is strange. I think Ross's wife from Friends is the mom in this. And I recognize the dad, but I just can't place where he's from. But anyway, they're kind of recognizable. And the main character, his name is Josh. He's played by the same kid who plays DB in Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. So there's that. I think the story is interesting and I like the pace of it. There's plenty of somewhat exciting stuff that happens. There's animal encounters, dirt bike races, there's swimming in a waterfall, there's survival mode camping, and there's a pretty thrilling and moving ending to the movie. There's some dream sequences in the middle of the movie while the two boys who kind of play off each other, they're on this camping trip together to learn about brotherhood and nature and stuff. And there's some dream sequences that are a little cheesy and kind of take me out of it. And the villains, aka the rival bike gang kids, are just a tad bit too villainous. At one point, Kyle, who's the leader of the dirt bike kids, and Josh are training to do a race together, and Kyle straight up attempts to seriously injure Josh, and Josh winds up bruised and bedridden for days. It's a little bit too serious. Also, the way that the kids can apparently sing "Lean on Me" to the buffalo as a magical way of getting them to do basically whatever they need is kind of bizarre and unrealistic, I think. I don't think that's how buffalo work, but you'll have to let me know if you're a buffalo expert. And if you're a buffalo expert, please let me know how you like the fan art for this week. I didn't choose to draw any characters. I don't know, I felt like drawing something a little bit more serene. And I almost kind of chose to do a painting style drawing with markers. So, like I said, you'll have to let me know what you think. I think it turned out really good, actually. But anyway, my ratings for Buffalo Dreams. I give the story a 4 out of 5. The acting, I give a 5 out of 5. The lesson, which is about nature and brotherhood, I actually give a 5 out of 5. And the enjoyability, I give a 3 out of 5. So pretty good. So the next movie we'll talk about is the Jennie Project. So this is a movie about a family who more or less adopts a chimpanzee, and they all try to teach it sign language. The dad is this scientist who spends a lot of time in Africa, and he's actually the one who brings the chimpanzee home. And at first the family doesn't really like the chimpanzee, whose name is Jennie. But then they all kind of slowly come to love her and think of her as a member of the family. And she in some way brings the family together because they're all, I guess there's this tension because they're angry with the dad for constantly leaving to go to Africa and whatever. Like I said, this is kind of a random DCOM. I don't really like chimps or monkeys or apes or anything. I find them kind of creepy, this uncanny valley thing, because they're almost kind of human, but they're definitely not. And sometimes, I don't know, I feel like people overplay their capacity or their capabilities and their intelligence levels. I think in this movie they said that a chimp can reach the intelligence level of an 8-year-old. But I just don't buy that. I really don't. I don't know. If you know about simians and monkeys and primates and sciences revolving around them, you'll have to let me know a little bit more about the research there. I'm not convinced. But anyway, I feel like the quality of this movie was actually really good. It wasn't cheesy at all. It doesn't really feel like a made-for-TV movie. It's got the kid who plays Max Keeble from Max Keeble's Big Move, and he's a decent actor. He's been in a couple other DCOMs as well, but I don't know. I just feel like when he's in these movies, it gives a little bit more credence to the movie because he actually was in a theatrical release. It's not a super exciting plot, honestly, but it's more about the development of the family, which I appreciate. Like, there's actually some interesting writing for the characters in this movie. The mom coming to love Jennie the chimp is actually kind of a sweet progression. Jennie coming to a place where she's comfortable learning sign language is interesting, and it's heartwarming to watch. I think, of course, the movie does give Jennie too much credit. Like I said, I don't buy that chimps are that smart. But at one point, she destroys a piece of mail because it contains bad news, right? About their dad being sent back to Africa, more or less. And so because the mailman is the one who brought the bad news, now she hates the mailman. And I don't think that a chimp would make that correlation. The ending is really not that satisfying either. In the end, this is a spoiler, but this is a super old movie, so sorry, not sorry. At the end of the movie, they return Jennie to Africa, but to me that seems like a huge risk to take on somebody or some ape that you care about. Like, she's been in captivity and raised by humans her whole life. She more or less thinks she's a human, and they're returning her to nature. I just don't really see that panning out well for Jennie, and I don't know, especially when the whole movie is about the family coming to love her. It doesn't really feel that nice to end the movie that way. I give the story a 3 out of 5. I give the acting a 4 out of 5. I give the lesson a 3 out of 5, the lesson being about placing, family first, and, life is about heart more than it is about science, which I would say I agree with. And the enjoyability, I give a 3 out of 5. Let It Shine is the next one we'll be covering. This movie came out in 2012, so I would have been graduating high school around the time that this movie came out, so I've never seen this. It's got the kid from Everybody Hates Chris in it, if you are familiar with that TV show. I always really liked that TV show, so I guess that kind of made the movie a little bit intriguing to me, but it was funny to see him in a more, cleaned up, family-friendly program. Not that Everybody Hates Chris isn't family friendly, but it's just a little bit more adult oriented, obviously. And here's the thing. This movie is based on a play written in the late 1800s by a French playwright, which was loosely based on the life of a real individual who lived in the 1600s. And the story is called Cyrano de Bergerac. And if you know that, or you pick up on that, which I did because I'm just so well read, you start to see a lot of similarities. So the main character of the French play is named Cyrano, and the main character of this movie is named Cyrus. The female love interest in Cyrano de Bergerac, her name is Roxanne, and in this movie, the female love interest is named Roxy. I think Cyrano's friend is named Christian something blah blah blah. His friend's name is Chris. So there are those parallels there. So this is a modern retelling of the story of Cyrano de Bergerac, which is basically about this kind of ugly or homely guy who's really great with words, who's in love with this woman, and his friend is also in love with this woman, and he thinks that, well, I don't have any shot with her because of how I look. So he basically supplies the words for his better looking friend. Well, it turns out that the girl really falls in love with the words and not the looks. And then, of course, the story is all about the kind of ugly guy, I guess, learning that looks aren't everything and going for the girl and having some confidence in his ability to woo a woman. And the story I just described to you is exactly the same from Cyrano de Bergerac and Let It Shine. Instead of it being about French poetry, it's about rap music. There's another level of, I guess, intrigue. It's kind of this footloosey side of the story where Cyrus in the movie Let It Shine is the son of a pastor who hates rap music. And for me, being somebody who was more or less raised in church and who still goes to church and is very involved in church and is a Christian, it's kind of tedious to me to watch a movie where like the Christian religious pastor dad is more or less the villain of the story, because he does not want Cyrus involved with anything related to that hippity hop music. You know how it is. And that's just not really, in my experience, that realistic to real life. I mean, there are some adults who still kind of think that way, but if it's an adult with a kid as young as Cyrus was in this movie, I don't really see that being likely. But anyway, they're opening, like, the scenes that happen in church make me a little bit uncomfortable. If that was me, if this was happening at my church, it would make me uncomfortable, because it's a Disney Channel movie, so they're not going to actually sing, outwardly religious songs. They're not going to sing things that are explicitly Christian or religious or gospel. So all of the songs and stuff that they sing in church have nothing to do with Jesus, really. And all, like, the sermons that his dad preach have nothing to do with Jesus, really. And it's just, the whole movie is a total misrepresentation of what church is like. And I don't really care if you go to a white church or a black church or whatever. You're going to mention God, you're going to mention Jesus, you're going to mention the Bible, you're going to mention those things in your service. And in this Disney Channel movie, they just don't. And it's a little too obvious that they're trying to exclude religion when a big part of the story revolves around church and religion. One of the songs in the movie was really good and gave me chills. It's the song that Roxy, she's this pop star who grew up in the town and is a childhood friend of Chris and Cyrus. She sings this song in church about, like, returning to church and returning home. And it, like I said, it was a beautiful song and it gave me chills. But I don't know. I just hated so much what they did with the dad. At the end of the movie, he does come around in the end, and he recognizes that rap can have uplifting lyrics. And so I guess that's kind of nice. And of course, at the end of the movie, Cyrus, you say gets the girl. He doesn't, like, kiss her or anything, but at the end of the movie, it's obvious that, that's the direction it's heading. It's a good plot, but I mean, it takes it straight from a famous French play, probably one of the most famous pieces of French literature. So of course the story's going to be good. The parts with his dad takes away points, though. So I give the story a 4 out of 5. The acting gets a 5 out of 5. The lesson gets a 4 out of 5. The songs get a 3 out of 5. Like I said, that one song that the girl sang gave me chills. But some of the rap songs are super cheesy because they can't go as hard as they really would want to because it's a Disney Channel movie and it's obvious. But the enjoyability, I give a 3 out of 5. Next up is Tiger Cruise. I don't want to talk about this movie too much. It's a little bit sad. It's got Hayden Panettiere in it. It's about, I don't know if this is something that actually happens in real life, a Tiger Cruise where it's a naval ship and members of the Navy bring their family to visit for a few days to see what life on the carrier is like. And it's kind of like a vacation, but it's kind of like a family weekend at a college type of thing. But anyway, it kind of follows the story of all of these military family members who are on this Tiger Cruise, and the cruise kind of more or less gets interrupted by the events of 9/11. This movie came out in 2004, which is kind of an interesting time for this movie to come out. It's a very patriotic movie. Now, at the time, I was like probably in either 4th or 5th grade. President George Bush was basically just getting reelected, and so it's kind of hard to say because in some senses the US was quite patriotic after 9/11, but I think that a lot of those feelings had faded by 2004. So, I don't know. It's just kind of an odd movie, and I don't think that Disney would be able to get away with making a movie like this in today's political climate. And I'm not saying that's for better or for worse. Honestly, there were a lot of moments in this movie where I was feeling myself rolling my eyes. A lot of the green screen photoshopped shots of the ship and of the sky when they were on board were really, really bad, which is kind of jarring, considering like this is a piece of realistic historical fiction from what I can tell. Not that I'm a big history buff or anything like that, but yeah, it just, like, the bad effects, the bad editing really takes you away from this otherwise pretty serious movie. The main character, Maddie, who is like the daughter of like the head guy on the boat, her attitude adjustment is not very well developed. So basically before the 9/11 attack, she's kind of goofing off and getting in trouble. After that, she takes on more or less a leadership role with the other children, and all of this development and all of this accepting this leadership role, it's with no outside encouragement, and it's just a day after she does something incredibly irresponsible and foolish. So I just feel like the character development is not very good. I hate the ending of this movie. I absolutely hate it. So part of the conflict of this story is that she wants her dad to come home, and he's like, preoccupied with his duties on this naval aircraft carrier. So she wants him to come home, and he agrees to come home. Then 9/11 happens, and she's like, you know what, Dad, I think you should stay because your job is so important, or whatever. And I just hate that, because it really seems to place a lot of burden on the children of military families, and it kind of frames it in light of like, this is an honor for you. You should be grateful that your parents are never around because they're serving our country. So just suck it up. And I just feel like it's not really fair to expect that of children. It's not really fair for this movie to frame it like that. Like, if you are the child of like a military parent and you have anger and bitterness towards the fact that your parent is never around, I feel like that's valid, and I feel like you can be angry that your parent is putting their country, which is kind of an abstract concept anyway, over their family, which is something a lot more concrete. Your kids are your kids no matter where you live. You could move across the world, but your kids would still be your kids, and they would still be your responsibility. So for me, I'm not that patriarchal of a person. I could never imagine placing my job or my duty to my country above my family. And this movie just kind of butts up with that mentality of mine. I think that it was overall a pretty well-made movie, and it had a good and moving tone, but I just really didn't personally like it. The story I give a 4 out of 5. The lesson I give a 2 out of 5, because like I said, the lesson is that duty to others and sacrifice for your country is more important than your family, which I just totally don't agree with. I agree with the side of the story about being responsible, but that's about it. The acting I give a 5 out of 5. There's some pretty famous actors in this movie, and the enjoyability I give a 2 out of 5 because it is too sad and serious for my liking. Next, let's talk about Adventures in Babysitting. This is a little bit more of a recent Disney Channel original movie. It has Sabrina Carpenter and Sophia Carson in it, who I like both of those actresses. I mean, I haven't really watched Disney Channel that much recently, but I mean, I recognize Sophia Carson from the Descendants movies, and Sabrina Carpenter, of course, was in Girl Meets World, and I really liked her in Girl Meets World. I just think she's, stunning, and, her sense of style in both of those, the TV show and this movie are really cute, and it's interesting to watch her play a more type A personality, whereas in Girl Meets World she was definitely playing more of a laid back bad girl type. Anyway, I don't know, I love her, and I guess I give the movie points for that. But overall, this is probably not one of my favorite DCOMs. This is one of those movies where one thing just goes wrong after the other, and it's constantly escalating, and so I just feel like this movie is stressful. Like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacations, movies like that where things just continuously go wrong, they're not funny to me. They just stress me out and make me feel way too sorry for the characters in the movie. I do like the way the story takes place all in one night. I think that definitely gives it a tense, high stakes feel, which is exciting and very effective. But like I said, it's not that enjoyable to watch. It's not laid back to watch. I think that, like I said, Sophia Carson and Sabrina Carpenter are so stylish and pretty. And the resolution at the end of this movie is incredibly satisfying. So basically, these two girls are competing for a photography internship, and they're also both babysitting on the same night. Sabrina Carpenter plays, like I said, a type A personality, and she's a regular babysitter. And Sophia Carson plays this kind of laid-back artist type, and she basically kind of scams this family into giving her a babysitting job because she needs a little extra cash. And so, because Sophia Carson is not responsible and she's really not a good babysitter, a bunch of stuff goes wrong. And part of her scam was she said that Sabrina Carpenter's character recommended her. So Sabrina Carpenter's character, I don't remember their names in this movie, I'm sorry. Her character has to help Sophia Carson get the evening back on track, because if she doesn't, that it'll ruin her good name because she's the one who quote unquote recommended her. At the end of the movie, they're able to solve basically all of the problems that they had faced and all of the escalating issues they basically were able to more or less reverse. As far as I can tell, the girls don't get caught. The parents don't catch them, which thankfully means we don't have to endure any scenes where the kids are getting punished. The bad guys, there are bad guys in this movie, they get caught. And I think it's an excellent premise for a DCOM. There is a rap battle scene in this movie, which was gimmicky though, but I will allow it. The story, I give a 4 out of 5. The acting gets a 4 out of 5. The lesson gets a 3 out of 5. The lesson is about balancing rules and spontaneity, which I think is a good lesson, but it's just not presented very well in this movie because the spontaneity pretty much always gets them in trouble and doesn't seem like a good idea. And the enjoyability, I give a 3 out of 5. All right, The Ultimate Christmas Present. This is a pretty festive movie. So basically it's about a weather machine which makes it snow in Los Angeles around Christmas time. And the girls who are the protagonists of this movie more or less steal the weather machine from Santa Claus, who I guess has a summer cabin in Los Angeles. Well, it's not really a summer cabin. He's there right before Christmas. But anyway, they steal this weather machine for him. And this one girl uses it because she wants a snow day so that she can get an extension on a paper that she was procrastinating on. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Brenda Song. She is in so many Disney Channel original movies. I'm gonna have to take a look back, but I think that she's probably in more Disney Channel original movies than any other kid. I think some of the actors who play parents in these DCOMs have been in a lot of them. But as far as like the, DCOM stars, the kids themselves, Brenda Song has been in a lot of DCOMs, and I'll have to tally up just how many she's in. But anyway, Santa's white hair and beard is pretty artificial looking, which I know is an odd critique, but I'm very critical of Santa Claus. Like, if I see a mall Santa who looks fake, or a TV show Santa that looks fake, or a movie Santa that looks fake, I just feel like that takes me out of it immediately. They've got to be a convincing Santa, and his white hair almost looks bluish. It doesn't look very good. There's a scene where Allie, who's the main girl, and her friend Samantha, they have like this heart-to-heart about missing their dads. And honestly, it's kind of pointless. Like, they're trying to give this movie some emotional gravitas, but it doesn't work. Especially since there are no scenes with Sam's family at all. So she talks about missing her dad, but it's like, we don't get any scenes with your family. So it's like, we really don't care about your family. And honestly, I hate that we don't get any resolution for Allie's pointless crush. So she has a crush on this guy and he's throwing a Christmas party. And that seems like it's going to be a pretty pivotal point to the movie, but the party gets canceled and she doesn't get to have any further scenes with him. So it's like, what was the point of her having a crush? The lesson of this movie is about how getting to spend Christmas with family is the ultimate Christmas present. But Allie doesn't spend really any of the movie with her family, appreciating them or not. So it's like they weren't able to really drive the lesson home because we didn't get to see her interact with her family at all. The climax of the movie should have had her little brother involved more at least. And her mom is a caterer, so every event that she was catering was canceled. So I feel like she should have spent more of the movie with her daughter, to enjoy her free time with her daughter, and then we could have gotten more scenes about spending time with family, but I don't know. Anyway, the story I give a 3 out of 5, the acting gets a 3 out of 5, the lesson gets a 2 out of 5, because like I said, I just don't really feel like they were able to drive it home, and then the enjoyability gets a 2 out of 5. Let's talk about True Confessions 2. So this movie is about this girl named Trudy Walker, and she, I guess, is ungrateful for her life. Her dad's a doctor, and her mom, I guess, just doesn't know how to connect with her. And she's got a twin brother named Eddie who seems to have autism, maybe. They never say it's autism, but that's kind of what it seems like. Anyway, he's got a mental disability, I guess you could say. And she's like an amateur filmmaker, and she wants to enter this contest to star in a TV show or to make her own TV show or something like that. And she winds up making it about her brother and about being a family member of somebody with a disability and whatever. It's kind of self-centered, honestly. It's not that much about Eddie's struggles. It's more about like what it's like for her and how it impacts her, and I don't know. That's kind of irritating. I mean, it's nice to see a DCOM that brings awareness to differently abled people, but I don't know how effective it is. There are like these dream sequences throughout the movie where she's like imagining a better life for herself inside of like a 50s TV sitcom, and those are kind of goofy and cheesy and stupid and out of place. Honestly, True is not that likable of a character. She's really annoying. She's constantly yelling at her mom for every little thing and assuming the worst of her mom, and we don't really get any reason for why she is so paranoid and suspicious that her mom is out to get her, but that seems to be the issue. I mean, 14 is an angsty time in a young girl's life, but it's just not very fun to watch her melt down all the time. The scenes with Eddie acting out are also kind of uncomfortable to watch. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point, but I just don't feel like... I've known autistic people in my life, and I just don't feel like the way that he acts in this movie accurately represents that, but I mean, obviously, every person is different. And honestly, Shia LaBeouf, who plays Eddie, does a pretty good job with it. He actually, I don't know, I think he gives a pretty good performance. The movie is full of cliches about disability, you know, like the idea that the mentally challenged people are truly happier and full of joy and whatever. True, her characterization throughout this movie at times seems kind of inconsistent, especially as it pertains to her feelings toward her brother. Half of the time she's super protective of him and super loving toward him, and I feel like that's the motivation behind her making her video project about him. But then at other times she seems very short-tempered with him and frustrated. And I mean, I guess that's realistic, but it just seems random, like there's no rhyme or reason toward the moments that she chooses to be loving toward him versus frustrated toward him. And the other thing is that her mixed feelings only apply to her brother and not to her mom. It's pretty much straight hatred for her mother the whole movie. There's no moments where she's like, oh, I know she means well, like she gives that courtesy to Eddie. I think the movie would be better if it better developed the relationship between True and Eddie, because the moments between them are the best parts of the movie. At one point, Eddie makes this comment that they're not twins anymore, and he's obviously commenting on how True is developing in a certain way and he's not developing in the same way, and he feels the disparity, but the way that he words it is that they're not twins anymore. And I feel like that was a really moving moment in this movie, and I wish that there would have been more time spent on that and less time spent on her relationship with her mother. Anyway, the story I give a 3 out of 5. The acting I give a 5 out of 5. The lesson I only give a 2 out of 5 because I feel like the lesson is messy and all over the place. Like, it's kind of like it ends on the note that life isn't like a TV show, but that's really not what the movie seems to be about. It's more about family, but they just didn't really get it together. And the enjoyability, I give a 3 out of 5. Let's cover one last movie this week, Stuck in the Suburbs. Here we go, Brenda Song. You go, girl. You're in another Disney Channel original movie. Honestly, this movie is kind of boring to me. I feel like I remember loving this movie when I was younger, but watching it now, I'm like, wait a second. The pop star heartthrob in this movie is really not cute at all. And no disrespect to the actor. It's not like he's an ugly guy, but he's just not got that, like, heartthrob pop star look. So just, I don't know, it doesn't feel really realistic in that respect. Nor is it realistic that, you know, he didn't realize when he was sitting in the salon chair that all of his hair was getting cut off. Like, he acts like he likes it, but, like, he's really surprised. But it's like, you were sitting in the chair while she was cutting your hair. How did you not notice? Basically, this movie is about this pop star whose cell phone get mixed up with this teenage girl's cell phone, and she uses his cell phone to try and help him by letting him be more free and all this stuff, like, so canceling appointments and getting his hair cut and changing his clothes and stuff, I think. I don't know. Basically, he's like this manufactured pop star, but he really is a genuinely good musician, apparently. And she's trying to help him become that. But anyway, Brenda Song, like I said, is in this movie too. And she was such a cute kid, and she is so fun to watch. Like, she's really good in this movie. And honestly, like, the two girl characters' names are Tasha and Brittany. And there's this reconciliation between them. And it feels kind of rushed. So they get in an argument at some point in the movie, which I can't even remember what it's about. Maybe about being fake. I think the girl who's played by Danielle Panabaker, she finds out that Brenda Song's character is lying about the fact that she's from New York and that she's bougie and all this kind of stuff. And they kind of argue about it, but then like it comes out that, oh, I was jealous of you. I don't know. It just feels random and rushed. Like I just didn't believe it. I don't know. I feel like the reconciliation between the two girls had the potential to be the best part of the movie, but it just was rushed and there wasn't enough care given to that scene. Also, we never really see Brittany apologize for blowing off her other friends. So basically she ditches all of her soccer team friends to hang out with Tasha, who's this supposed, fashionista from New York, and, she's just trying to impress her, and her other friends I don't know, we just never really get to see her make up with them. But, I mean, at the end of the movie, they're all friends, hunky-dory, and things work out well with the pop star as well. It's a feel-good movie, but like I said, it's kind of boring. I don't know. The story, I give a 2 out of 5. The lesson is, once again, be yourself, so I give that a 1 out of 5. The acting is pretty good for DCOM. It gets a 3 out of 5. Most of those points could be attributed to Brenda Song, who was pretty good. And the enjoyability, I give a 2 out of 5. That's it for this Disney Channel original movie review video. Hope you enjoyed the fan art this week. It was a bit of a departure from what I've been doing, but I really enjoyed it. And we're in the home stretch now, guys. We don't have a lot of movies left to watch. I've got 2 more videos after this one, I believe. Yes, 2 more videos after this one. So if your favorite DCOM has not been covered yet, don't worry. It's coming within the next 2 weeks. And then we'll have a nice recap video to cover all of the DCOMs and to talk about what we've learned. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you made it this far. Comment, whatever. Do those fun YouTube things. I don't care. Just so I know that you guys are enjoying it. And let me know what you would like to see next. You all have a good one. Bye-bye.